I'm going to tell you a story, but the first thing you have to understand is time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can go by Oracle because I'm the one who's talking to you. Welcome to the cult. Alright, we're going to move right along again with True Fae. Getting back into some of the potential origins of them. Simplest explanation of the True Fae is that they are gods. Similarly, the form that they take and the powers they possess could be described as divine. Moreover, they obviously believe themselves high and mighty, as any godly being might. Could a Fae with stag's antler, a crooked caprine legs actually be a Cernunnos from the Celtic pantheon, or Pan from the Greek? Could a terrible hag, whose face is beautiful but whose body is that of a maggot-chewed corpse, be Hel, the Norse goddess of death and decay? After all, she had two servants, Ganglot and Ganglati, both perhaps both poor modals taken away and made to become part Fae. That really depends on how cool they were. As in, like whether they're a Fae that looks down on Deva, because that shouldn't happen, but because it just shouldn't happen. But if it happened, then they'd be uncool if they did that. Fasten themselves off as Deva if they're Vidyahara or Vidyahari that look down on Deva, that's just like uncool. Anyway, of course, therein lies the chicken and egg problem. Did the presence of True Fae in the world inspire the myths of humans who long to give a name to the powerful entities outside the world's physical borders? Or did the myths and legends have enough real power, viral ideals so potent, they infected whole cultures that from such narrative intensity the True Fae were born? Stranger still, could the True Fae have consciously borrowed their forms and habits from the capricious whims of the world's gods and goddesses? That'd be stupid rude to do. Another potential difficulty is the drawing too closely for the, at least in my opinion, from existing myths gives players a level of familiarity with True Fae that might run against the mood. If you name one of the gentry, Zeus for instance, then players are going to bring a lot of preconceptions to the table that every time you mention said thunderer's name. While there is some fun to be had in presenting familiar names with unexpected twists to such figures, it could mess with the player's mythic reflexes. Alternatively, consider too the possibility that True Fae are gods, but divine in a way that isn't connected to mythology. They can be gods after all, without mortals truly knowing their name. Similar to Lovecraft's elder gods from outside space and time, perhaps the True Fae are so eldritch that they are wholly unknowable. The gods of humans have nothing, then, on the alien horror that these distinct beings could theoretically represent. Parasita Artea, alien horror. She that formed all things, she who formed all things. It may seem odd that humans would protect her, but they don't know what she really is, do they? They believe her a goddess, Tiamat from the old Sumerian Sumerian legends, and why wouldn't they? She comes to them to their small bayside town on a black boat whenever the moon is orange. She has a serpent's tail and a human's face, mouth filled with dragon's teeth and just plump teeth that drip salty tears. Whenever she comes, she takes one of the people from the small village of Baytown, a person whom the townsfolk offer to the goddess as a kind of appeasing gesture. They know that when they do not let her take one of their own, she curses them with luck so foul that the tales of misfortune have become legendary. Those few changelings kept by Tiamat, for she will answer that now, have tried to return to Baytown to tell their once brethren the truth, but they won't hear it. The mortals have shovels and shotguns and a crazed look in their eyes. They believe themselves God-touched, and maybe in some way they are. That's Tiamat pulling an Innsmouth. That's hilarious and scary. Angels and demons. Consider in mythology how strange an angel appears. Animal parts and human faces, pulsing light and deep shadow, both profoundly beautiful and clearly inhuman. Consider, too, encounters with these supposed messengers of God and how unsettling or unpredictable they can be. They might demand odd tasks, as they do with Ezekiel, or levy lunatic prophecies against whole villages. Certainly, while True Fae cannot be real angels of God, True Fae cannot be real angels of God, can they? By my cosmology, not anymore. But that's my cosmology. I can be wrong. Some changelings speculate that maybe the True Fae are. Maybe they abduct and punish those who deserve it, or maybe a kind of deist perspective. God has truly left the world to its own devices, but the angels who remained behind went mad without his light to guide them. It's easy to view the abduction experience through the filter of organized monotheistic religion, though one's changeling condition is a little hard to reconcile in that worldview, and angels seem perhaps the most straightforward answer to the identity of the Fae. That is, except for demons. The Fae might very well be demons and devils as well. What kind of succubus or incubus who violates mortal beings while they sleep and perhaps goes on to use the fluids collected from them and experience for its own diabolical ends? What a beautiful demon Azazel who tempts women into sin and teaches them to paint their faces fair with makeup. Or of demons who abduct humans and give them a glimpse of hell, which could be just an infernal part of Arcadia. In fact, Arcadia touches Paizugasaba, like it just does. In the same way it touches the Harmia and like the Yamasadana. It just does. Like it touches it on the outside, which is kind of where Paizugasaba touches everything, but still. Oh, Pandemonium. The home of all demons. Anyway. In fact, some genuinely view Arcadia as hell, or a kind of purgatory. For them, it definitely is. After all, it's in a place of both punishment and pleasure for its changeling of wretched tortures and unholy desires. It may not look like the medieval idea of hell with pits of molten metal and geysers of fire, but metaphorically, the shoe fits. And if the shoe fits, unfortunately, you might have to wear it. Mr. Thorne, this is what several of the Lost say within San Francisco Freehold remember. They recall being part of a congregation led by a figure in a dark suit with a priest's collar. Sometimes he called himself Minister Thorne, other times Samael the Thorn. He shackled the changeling to pews made of dark wood, and then vines grew from his eyes and bleeding roses bloomed from their tips. He spoke of love and punishment, of the eventual fall of humans. He spoke of beautiful Adam and beautiful Eve, and how he coveted that beauty so deeply. Sometimes he would allow the changeling to confess, and in confessing join him in his bed. He had many Bibles in many languages, some languages that were definitely not human. The thing is, he shows up in human dreams too. He appears there chastising sinners and lamenting the loss of innocence. He finds weakness in those he believes themselves base and vile, and he worms his way between the cracks in one's esteem. Poets have written of him, usually before ending their lives. Neither heaven nor hell. Neither heaven nor hell shall see you there, and that's the way of all the fair, and all the contracts broken there, and all to do you are not with the fair. Neither heaven nor hell. According to some traditions of folklore, the Fae are creatures that are part of creation, yet undecided in the war between good and evil. This is literally what I talked about in my books. Some note that they're angels who refuse to side with either God or Lucifer, and for their refusal are condemned to an immortal existence without knowledge of heaven or hell. Strictly speaking, they're the neighbors of the Gatelands to hell, between here and between reality and hell, basically, and that's basically where they chill. Like, they can come to reality somewhat. They can. They just do. They're connected to it, but they're also not. At least by this, but by my reasoning and by this reasoning. Others might trace the roots to celestial envoys who that dally too long in the mortal plane, and lost their state of grace, such as the Book of Enoch, Sigori, or their children, the Nephilim. Which also kind of actually ties into my books in a different way. But from this tradition come other beliefs, such as the idea that true fae must pay a regular taint of souls to hell, to which end they kidnap mortals. Of course, actually, funny point. The taint is actually built into my second book, like the taint to hell. Both seven Unsulei, who are basically like taken as Kozadaza by the forget what the Sanskrit for it would be, but the Beast of Slaughter. And that's basically like a large portion of the second book, at least from the perspective of the Beast of Slaughter, is capturing the seven Kozadaza Vidihari. There's like a Zephyr, there's a Goblin, there's a Rasoka, there's a Will-o'-the-Wisp / Balehound. There's a Puka. Puka's pretty baller. There is actually the strictly speaking the princess of the Unsulei, the Lady clad in Ice Fire, who ends up giving the operative name, being given the operative name Cersei because in the third book, because like they all become basically recurring characters after the second book, it's actually not okay to call her the Lady Nightfire anymore just because of how things happened with her being a Kozadaza. And, like, the Tain not really getting resolved in that way. But the thing is, like, the Beast of Slaughter collected 66 human souls. It just did. It just did that. Like, it's part of that's part of its deal. Like, that's part of its Samvita. So, like, at least in the context of my books, the Tain got paid. The explanation endures today, and many lost find it as possible as anything else. The others give no impression of ever having been mortal, and yet they have a great fascination, even obsession with mortals. This explanation endures today, and many lost find it as possible as anything else. The others give no impression of ever having been mortal, yet have a great fascination, even obsession with mortals. Arcadia could well be a realm the others created in a pastiche attempt to emulate heaven or hell or both. The gentle boatman. He is the kindest and gentlest of the ferrymen. He says so himself. He appears beneath bridges, always called by some elaborate rule embedded in the local folklore, perhaps when a mother casts her unwanted newborn into the river, or when a virgin boy bathes in the creek by moonlight. The boat or raft accounts vary that he pulls is battered and seems as though it should have sunk long ago, but he still is able, with the sweetest and friendliest speech, to coax so many of those who would call him to go for a little ride. He then tells the most marvelous stories of a bright kingdom that was once his and a dread cousin who tricked him into exile, but his mood turns quite sour if he dwells on the prospect for too long. The stories of the great gentle boatman pose one interesting conundrum. Though he can talk to anyone into anything with his silver tongue or ask some of his passengers to go and collect a person for him, he cannot set foot on one bank or another. He rejected that choice long ago. He has suffered from it ever since. All right, there's a couple more explanations, but I'm going to for potential Tanmata Mula origin potential, or potential origin of the Videhara True Fae. But I'm gonna wrap this up for now because I'm getting on 13 minutes. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe.